The same brain that kept your ancestors alive on the savannah is the exact reason your bank account stays flat, no matter how hard you work. That's not an insult. That's neuroscience. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you 10 money habits that are quietly keeping you poor, not because you're lazy, not because you're bad with money, but because your brain is running programs it was never updated to turn off. My name is Derek, and welcome to NeuroWealth, where we don't just talk about money. We talk about the brain that controls every decision you make with it. Let's get into it. Meet Marcus, 34 years old, marketing manager, $75,000 a year. By any measure, Marcus is doing okay. But every time I ask him how his savings are going, he gives me the same answer. I don't know where the money goes. Here's where it goes. Every time Marcus got a raise, and he's had 4 in 8 years, his lifestyle inflated to match it within 90 days. New apartment, better car, nicer restaurants. This is called hedonic adaptation. Your brain has a pleasure baseline. And dopamine, the chemical responsible for motivation and reward, resets that baseline upward every time you upgrade your life. So the $500 apartment that felt exciting at 22 feels inadequate at 34. Even though nothing actually changed except your expectations. And your brain keeps demanding the next level. Marcus didn't get richer with every raise. He just got better at spending. Here's the rewire. Keep your lifestyle fixed for 90 days after any income increase. Automate the entire difference into savings before your brain can reclassify it as available income. Don't negotiate with your dopamine system. Outmaneuver it. But lifestyle inflation is just the surface. Habit number 2 is the one happening completely below your awareness. And it might be the most financially dangerous thing your brain does. Here's a question. When did you last check your full financial picture? Savings, debt, investments, net worth, all of it at once. If that question made you slightly uncomfortable, that discomfort has a name. It's called the Ostrich Effect, and is driven by your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. Your amygdala cannot distinguish between a lion and a credit card statement. Both register as threat. Both trigger avoidance. Sarah is 41. She hasn't opened her retirement account login in 3 years. Not because she doesn't care about her future. She cares deeply. But every time she thinks about doing it, her chest tightens, her breathing gets shallow, and she finds something else to do. That's not laziness. That's her amygdala doing its job, badly. A 2018 study in psychological science by Princeton researchers found that financial stress consumes the equivalent of 13 IQ points of cognitive bandwidth. The same impact as losing an entire night's sleep every single day. You cannot make good financial decisions when your brain is operating in threat mode. Here's the rewire. Schedule one 10-minute money date every week. Same day. Same time. No decisions required. Just look. Repeated, low-stakes exposure to financial information gradually reduces amygdala reactivity. Familiarity is the antidote to financial fear. Real quick, if any of this is landing for you, if you just recognized one of these patterns in your own life, hit like right now. That moment of recognition you just felt, that's your prefrontal cortex activating. That's the part of your brain capable of change. Don't let it go quiet. Hit like. It reinforces the signal that this information matters. Here's the counterintuitive part that most financial content gets completely wrong. People with scarcity mindsets, people who feel chronically financially anxious, often spend more impulsively, not less. And this is where it gets neurologically interesting. When your brain perceives scarcity, it triggers a cognitive state called tunneling. Your mental bandwidth narrows to focus only on immediate relief. Long-term thinking essentially goes offline. Small purchases, a coffee, a takeaway, a new top, feel urgent. Because when the future feels hopeless, the present feels like the only thing worth spending on. The trap, every small purchase briefly relieves the anxiety, which trains your brain to spend whenever anxiety spikes, which creates more financial stress, which creates more tunneling, which creates more impulse spending. That's the loop. Here's the rewire. Implement a 72-hour rule on any non-essential purchase over $30. Add it to a list. Wait 72 hours. The urge will pass in most cases, because the urge was never really about the product. It was about the anxiety. And your prefrontal cortex, given 72 hours, Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman spent decades studying how humans make financial decisions. And what he found should terrify anyone keeping their money in a savings account. Your brain feels losses 2.5 times more intensely than equivalent gains. Losing $100 feels more than twice as bad as finding $100 feels good, which means your brain is biased, hardwired, to prioritize avoiding loss over building wealth. And it disguises this bias as wisdom, as caution, as being responsible with money. But keeping your money in a savings account earning 0.5% while inflation runs at 3 to 4% isn't safe. It's a guaranteed slow loss that just doesn't feel like one, because your brain can't see the money disappearing. Here's the rewire. Start with one small index fund contribution, even $25 a month. The goal isn't returns. The goal is neurological exposure. Once your brain experiences the cycle of markets, moving without catastrophe, the amygdala response to investment risk gradually decreases. You're building financial courage, one small bet at a time. But loss aversion is costing you money while you sleep. Habit number 5? That one's costing you relationships and money, and almost nobody talks about it. UCLA neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman published research in 2013 showing that social rejection activates the exact same neural pathway as physical pain, the anterior cingulate cortex. Your brain processes being judged about money the same way it processes being punched. This is why people don't ask for raises they deserve. Why they don't negotiate a better rate on their phone bill, their insurance, their rent. Why they avoid financial advisors. Why money is the last taboo in most relationships. Financial shame doesn't feel like shame. It feels like not wanting to make things awkward. It feels like being polite. It feels like humility. It's costing you thousands every year. Here's the rewire. Reframe every money conversation as data collection, not a performance. You are gathering information, not seeking approval. When you internally label the interaction as research rather than judgment, your anterior cingulate cortex quiets, and your prefrontal cortex stays online. Practice with something low stakes. Negotiate a subscription you don't use. The neural pathway is the same regardless of the amount. I'll save what's left at the end of the month. There's never anything left. And it's not because you spend too much. It's because of a cognitive distortion called hyperbolic discounting. Your brain dramatically and consistently overvalues rewards now and undervalues rewards in the future. Your future self feels like a stranger to your present brain. Neuroscientists at NYU found that when people imagined their future selves, the brain regions that activated were the same ones that activate when thinking about other people, not themselves. You are literally robbing a stranger every time you say, "I'll save later." Here's the rewire. Automate a savings transfer for the day after payday, before you can spend it. Remove the decision entirely. Your present brain cannot be trusted to voluntarily give money to your future self. So don't give it the choice. Automation is the single most effective financial behavior change neuroscience has ever measured. I need you to stop for a second. We're halfway through, and I want to know which one of these 6 habits has your brain been running the longest without you realizing it. Drop it in the comments right now. Be specific. Not just impulse spending. When does it happen? What triggers it? We read every comment on this channel. And sometimes the most valuable thing is just naming it out loud for the first time. In 2022, a study published in Nature Human Behavior gave participants a genuinely disturbing choice. Would you rather earn $50,000 a year when everyone around you earns $25,000? Or earn $100,000 a year when everyone around you earns $200,000? The majority chose $50,000. Let that land. People preferred less money as long as they had more than their peers. This is your brain's social comparison bias at work. Your dopamine system releases reward signals based on relative status, not absolute wealth. Winning feels better than having, which means your neighbor's new car isn't just annoying. It's neurologically disrupting your financial decision-making. Every time you see it, your brain recalibrates what's normal, and suddenly your perfectly functional car feels inadequate. Here's the rewire. Curate your comparison environment. Unfollow accounts that trigger status anxiety. Spend more time with people who talk about net worth and financial freedom rather than income and possessions. Your dopamine system will recalibrate to its new reference group within 30 days. You don't rise above social comparison. You redirect it. But habit number 8 is the one that's been hiding in plain sight your whole life. Most people never see it coming. I'll pay it off when I get my bonus. I'll start investing next year when things settle down. I'll sort out my pension when I'm 40. If you've ever said any version of those sentences, and most of us have, you've experienced optimism bias. Your prefrontal cortex systematically overestimates your future capability and underestimates the future version of you feels smarter, more disciplined, more financially sorted. So your present brain keeps delegating the hard stuff to this imaginary future person who never quite arrives. A 2011 study in Nature Neuroscience found that the human brain updates positive expectations significantly faster than negative ones, meaning we are biologically built to believe tomorrow will be better, even when the evidence says otherwise. Here's the rewire. Plan for the worst version of your future. Ask, what would I do if the bonus never came? What if things don't settle down? Build your financial plan around that scenario. Anything better than worst case becomes a genuine bonus. Your brain stops waiting for a future that may never arrive and starts acting now. You know that moment when you've had a brutal day and you open a shopping app and you add something to the cart and you feel the tension lift slightly? That's not joy. That's dopamine. Your nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward hub, doesn't distinguish between a meaningful purchase and a stress relief purchase. It just fires dopamine when you anticipate receiving something. The crash comes later, usually when the credit card statement arrives, or when the package turns up and gives you about 4 minutes of satisfaction before the emptiness returns. And here's what makes it a trap. The spending doesn't fix the stress. It masks it, so the stress returns. And you need another hit. Here's the rewire. Before any unplanned purchase, pause and name the emotion driving it. Say it out loud or write it down. I'm spending because I'm anxious. I'm spending because I'm lonely. A 2007 UCLA study found that labeling a negative emotion activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces the amygdala response by up to 50%. The urge doesn't disappear, but your prefrontal cortex gets a vote. And with practice, it learns to win. Before I show you habit number 10, the one that ties all 9 of these together into a single root cause, I need you to do something. Think of one person in your life who is working hard but can't seem to get ahead. Someone who you know would benefit from understanding this. Send them this video. Right now. You're not sharing content. You're potentially changing the entire trajectory of their financial life. You already know who it is. Go. I'll wait. Here's the systemic truth that every other habit in this video leads back to. Most people are not making financial decisions. They are executing financial programming that was installed before the age of 12. The way money was talked about or avoided in your home growing up. Whether your parents were savers or spenders. Whether wealth was discussed as something attainable or something other people had. Whether you were taught to fear debt or ignore it. Your brain's default mode network, the system that runs in the background when you're not actively thinking, is running those scripts right now. Every time you make a financial decision without conscious intention, you're not choosing. You're defaulting. A 2019 paper in the Journal of Financial Therapy found that money beliefs formed in childhood predict adult financial behavior more reliably than income, education, or financial literacy. You can earn more. You can learn more. And your childhood money script will still quietly steer the wheel. Here's the rewire. Write one sentence. Your defined financial identity. Something like, I am someone who builds wealth quietly, consistently, and without apology. Read it every morning for 30 days. This isn't affirmation culture. This is neuroscience. Repetition fires and wires neural pathways. You are not repeating a wish. You are installing a new default. One that was chosen by your adult, informed prefrontal cortex, not by a child who absorbed fear from a dinner table conversation. 10 habits. 10 brain programs. None of them your fault, because you didn't write them. But every single one of them is now yours to rewrite. That's not motivation. That's neuroplasticity. Your brain can physically restructure itself in response to new, repeated behaviors. At any age. At any income level. Starting with any one of the rewires in this video. You don't have to fix all 10 today. Pick one. The one that made you pause. The one that felt uncomfortably familiar. Start there. Now, I want to hear from you. Out of all 10 habits, which one has your brain been running the longest without you knowing it? And more importantly, what is the one action you're going to take in the next 24 hours to begin the rewire? Tell me in the comments. Be specific. Not I'll save more. What exactly will you do tomorrow morning? The most honest, specific answer in the comments gets pinned. And if this video reframed how you think about money and the brain, the next video goes even deeper. We break down the exact childhood money scripts that formed your default financial identity and the step-by-step neuroplasticity protocol to permanently overwrite them. You will not want to miss that one. Until then, your brain got you here. But it doesn't get to decide where you go next.